Hey folks, Mr. Dell here. We are looking at CPM. This is course 2, and this is section 3.2.2. And we're looking specifically at 3-47, and it's about taking expressions, number expressions, using order of operations, and then simplifying them. Specifically, it wants you to use the practice of changing any subtraction into addition, right? Remember that subtraction, and I'll write it over here, subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. Okay, adding the opposite. What does that mean? So, for example, if I said 6 minus 4, well, we all know 6 minus 4 is equal to 2, correct? Well, I could also write this as 6, and instead of subtraction, I write it as addition, and it's adding the opposite. Well, that is a positive 4, right? 6 minus 6, positive 6 minus positive 4. So is 2. So I'm going to take the positive 6 now, and I'm going to add to it the opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. So 6 minus 4 is the same thing as 6 plus negative 4, which is still 2. Same answer, right? So it can be written, subtraction can be written as addition if you look at it as subtraction being the same as adding the opposite. So let's do that. So with this question, first of all, we have multiplication and subtraction. So I'm going to do the multiplication first before I get to the addition, or before I get to the subtraction, right? Because also the other pieces, we also know that PEMDAS, right? The actual order of operations, where P is your parentheses, E is your exponent, multiply, divide, add, subtract. And multiply, divide happens on the same step, just left to right. Same with add, subtract. So we're going to do multiplying before we subtract, according to our order of operations. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Now I have negative 10 minus 3. So instead of the subtraction, I'm going to change it to adding the opposite, right? Adding the opposite. So it stays negative 10, but now it's negative 10 plus the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. So I have negative 10 plus negative 3. Now I know I'm looking at adding two negatives, right? I have negative 10 and I'm getting more negatives added onto it. It just stays negative, and I add those up and I get negative 13. All right. B, first of all, again, we've got multiplication and subtraction. So multiplication here, when you have two sets of parentheses with single numbers in them and they're next to each other, that's multiply. So negative 2.5 times negative 4. First of all, a negative times a negative makes this number going to be a positive, and then 4 times 2.5 is 10. So it's positive 10. So now I have 7.69 minus 10. And again, one more, I'm going to rewrite this minus the subtraction as adding the opposite. So it's 7.69. Then that is plus negative 10, right? So it's 7.69 plus negative 10. So that, again, shows me, oh, I've got here a situation where I have a positive number and a negative number. So positive and negatives cancel each other out. That canceling process is subtraction. Right? They cancel. There's negatives and positives that'll cancel each other. So we subtract to find the difference between them to find out what's left over. So 10, I'm going to go 10 minus 7.69, and I get 3.31. Excuse me, not 3.31, 2.31. 2.31 and 2 and 31 hundredths. And negative 10, there's more negatives than there are positives. There's only 7 and 69 hundredths positives and negative 10 positives, or 10 negatives. So there's going to be more negatives. So my answer, when all said and done, is negative 2.31. Okay, let's move on to this one. Here I've got negative 7 plus negative 3 minus negative 5. So I've got, in this case, all addition subtraction, so I can go straight across. That's already addition, so I can add those first, and I'm going straight across, left to right. Negative 7 and negative 3. Negative 7 and negative 3 make negative 10. And then here I have minus negative 5. So negative 10 minus negative 5, once again, I'm going to change the subtraction to addition, and it's add the opposite. So it stays negative 10, but then this becomes, instead of subtraction, addition, and then the opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. So now I've got the situation where a minus a negative, right, all becomes a plus because it's adding the opposite. Negative 10 and positive 5. Once again, when you have negative and positive numbers and you're adding them, right? I'll show a diagram. Negative numbers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 negatives, and I'm adding that to 5 positives, right? 10 negatives and 5 positives. So if you think about this, when you look at it, you're looking at this. There's a cancellation, right? A negative and a positive, they cancel each other out. Another negative and a positive cancel. Another negative and a positive cancel. Another negative and positive cancel. And then this last negative and positive cancel. So all of those cancel, and what are we left with? We're left with 5 negatives. That's why what you have, the operation you're dealing with that cancellation, is subtraction. I find the difference between the absolute value of each of these, and I look to see then who's got more, right? There's more negatives than there's positives. So 10 minus 5 is 5, and then there's more negatives. So the answer is negative 5. Last one, I have some multiplication and subtraction. So first multiplication, order of operations. So negative 4 times negative 25 is positive 100. Negative times a negative is positive. 4 times 25 is 100. So now I have 100 minus 300. Well, once again, I have subtraction. I'm going to change it to add the opposite. So it's going to be 100 plus negative 300, right? So it's a positive and a negative. There's some cancellation. So you find the difference of those absolute values. 300 minus 100 is 200. And you look to see, are there more negatives or more positives? There's more negatives. So I'm going to end up with my difference being negative. Okay. All right.